Good morning. Welcome. Today's Torah portion. Good morning. For Wednesday of Parshas Shoftim, chapter 18, verse 6. I think a little introduction to today's Torah portion is in order. In the period of the Chumash, there were just a few Kohanim. There was Aharon, there were his sons, Nadav, Avihu, and even after they passed on, Elazar, Isamar. It was a small business. There was Aaron and sons. And they were the Kohanim. But as time went on and generations passed, there were many Kohanim. And as the Mishkan developed greater and bigger and busier in Israel, as the population expanded, there were many, many Kohanim. You couldn't have every Kohen working in the Beis HaMikdash, earlier in the Mishkan, later in the Beis HaMikdash at the same time. Too many cooks spoiled the broth. So they set up a system. In the time of Samuel, the prophet, Shmuel HaNavi, King David, they set up a system of mishmoros, of families, shifts. They took all the Kohanim and they divided them into 24 groups called the 24 shifts. And they gave each of these families or shifts approximately 2 weeks a year. And they said, these are your 2 weeks. And all the other Kohanim, they did what they did. But when it was this family's shift, they all came and they worked and they benefited from the meat that they took and the skins that they were benefiting, that was their right to take home and so on. So this is called the Chaf Dalid Mishmeres HaKahuna, the 24 shifts of the system of the kahuna of the priesthood. Now we're going to learn that if a Kohen comes on the holidays and he says, listen, I don't want to cut in on anybody else's shift, but I want to bring my own sacrifice, my own holiday sacrifice. Can't I act as my own Kohen? Or the Kohen says, listen, I don't want to cut in on the regular stuff, but it's such a busy time. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are coming and lining up to bring sacrifices. Can I take part in the extra sacrifices on top of the regular stuff? Because holidays were a very busy time. That's the subject matter of today's Chumash. Verse 6, V'chiyovei halevi, what if the Levi will come? And as the commentaries say, that although it says Levi, in this particular case, it refers to a specific Levi. Who's the specific Levi? The Kohen, who is a descendant of Levi. What if a Kohen will come? Me'achat shorecha, from one of your cities, Mikol Yisrael, anywhere in Israel, Asher hu Gorsham, he lives there. He lives in Tel Aviv, he lives in Beersheba, he lives in Kfar Chabad, and he comes, Uvo b'cholabas nafshi, he comes with with every fiber of his soul, with a desire, alamokim, to the place, Hashivchar Hashem, that God will choose. He comes to Jerusalem, and he says, hi, I am a Kohen, I'm here. Rashi 6, V'chiyovei halevi, this Levi means a Kohen. Yochel b'ben Levi vadai. I would think that we're talking about a Levi, Akos of Medaber, the Torah speaks. Tamar Lema v'sheires, we're talking about someone who will minister in the Beis HaMikdash. Yotzu Leviim sheiruim l'sheires. A Levi doesn't minister in the Beis HaMikdash. He guards, he has other jobs, but this is the specific Levi, which is the Kohen within the Levi. And he says, I want to be the Kohen who works on my shift of my particular offering. I know there's a Balaturim here. V'chiyovei halevi, says the Balaturim. These three words have the numerical value of Zehu Kohen. This refers to a Kohen. So here's the deal. The Kohen says, can't I bring my own sacrifice? Can I cut in on some of the busy stuff here? 7, So the law is, the answer, my friend, is B'Sheires, he may minister. B'Shem Hashem Elokav, in the name of God is God. Kechol Echav Halviim, like all of his brother Levites, meaning all of his brother Kohanim, Ha'imdim Sham, who stand there, Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem. Yes, he can. B'Sheires 7, Rashi, Limid, this teaches us, ala Kohen, regarding a Kohen, Sheba, he can come, Umakir, and offer, Karbonis Nidivose, the offerings of his own contributions, Echevose, or his own obligations, Va'afilu b'mishmar she'eina shalo, even when it's not his watch, it's not his 2 weeks. Davar achar, another meaning, Eid limit ala Kohenim abayim l'regel, he teaches us about Kohanim who come for the holidays. Shemakrivim, that they may offer in the mishmar, va'evdim, they can work, b'karbonis habois machmas l'regel, in the special category of holiday offerings. Earlier, his own offering he can even do in February. Anytime he comes, he can do his own offering. On the special busy holidays, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, he can even squeeze in and deal with the holiday rush, not with the regular day-to-day stuff. The regular day-to-day stuff belongs to the regular Kohanim on the shift. Kagain, for example, Musvei Horegel, the additional offerings of the festival. Even though it's not their division. 8, Chelek kechelek yechelu. They shall have equal portions to whatever is distributed to the Kohanim. Levad mimkorov al ha'ovis, in addition to that which was sold to the houses of fathers. In other words, besides that which is divided to the mishmores, to the divisions of kahuna, the 24, outside of that, the special stuff he can take part of in the busy season or his own stuff. Rashi explains. 8. Kechelek yechelu, Melamed, this teaches us that in addition to doing various jobs and having various benefits, shechilkin, that the Kohanim would split up the benefits of ba'eres, of the skins, animal skins, have great value. So the Kohen who worked that shift gets to bring home the animal skins as well. He divides it with the rest of the Kohanim of that shift. So this guy can also cut in on that. Or bepsar sirei achatois, and the flesh of other sin offerings. I would think that he can cut in on stuff that is not special holiday-related bonus stuff. No. He's going to meet him like the regular daily offerings, or Musfei Shabbos, the additional offerings of the Sabbath, or Nedarim and Nedavos, and the vows and free will offerings of the everyday stuff. Absolutely not. Talmud Leimer Levad Mimkorav Ala Oves, in addition to that which was sold, meaning allocated according to the father's houses, Chutz Mimashem Machru HaOves, that's the word Oves, are the patriarchs, the founding fathers, except that which was designated by the founding fathers of the Jewish people when they set up the 24 shifts. When did that happen? Bimei David u'Shmuel. So Rashi gives us insight. This happened formally in the times of King David, in the times of the prophet Samuel, when there was an abundance of Kohanim. Shenikbu HaMishmores, they organized it, and they set shifts. Or Mochru Zelozeh, they traded and sold. I'll give you my week, your week, and so on. And in the end result, there was a fixed calendar, so that if a guy had to go out of town, a guy had to go on a business trip in Hong Kong, he could say, listen, I'll give you my week, you give me your week. Te'elata Shabbat, Chabanieto Shabbati, you take your week, I'll take my week, and so on and so forth. All of the business dealings that there were in the weeks, but the fact of the matter is that there were set shifts that were set up by the founding fathers in the times of Shmuel Hanavi and in the times of David HaMelech. Says the Torah years before that I want the Kohen to be able to have the right to bring his offering, also to benefit from the animal skins and the special extra festival rush offerings. He should be able to have a special part of that. I like to tell a cute story about animal skins. There's the environmentalists are very much against mink stuff, and so there's a famous story of the man who presented his wife with a beautiful, beautiful mink stole. Anyway, her daughter comes home from school in Berkeley, and she sees her mother walking around with this mink coat, and she goes crazy. So she gets so angry And she looks at her mother and she says, Mom, how could you do that? Do you know what the animal had to go through so you could wear that coat? And her mother gets very angry, slaps her in the face and says, don't you ever talk about Daddy like that. That's just my mink coat joke. Okay. Verse 9. It's only a joke. Verse 9. Ki ata bo el ha'oretz. We now segue into a different section, back to idol worship. We know that the Canaanites were steeped in idol worship and all types of cults of idol worship. And here the Torah admonishes the Jew that when you come into Israel, don't learn from the natives. Ki ata bo el ha'oretz, when you are entering to the land asher Hashem Elokecha noisen lach, which God your God gives you, leisilmed lases, do not learn and do kisei abeis hagoyim ohem, like the perversions of the natives. Don't follow the perversions of the natives. Leisilmed lases. So here the Torah tells us, Aval, but atolomed, you may learn lahavin, to understand, ulahiris, so that you can teach, which means that the leadership within the Jewish people, the Sanhedrin, the leaders, they can study the other religions to know what is and what isn't. But the average Joe should not. Klaimar, the leadership should understand lahavin ma'aseyim, to understand their culture, to learn how corrupt it is. And to teach to your children, listen, son, don't do this and this, don't emulate the Canaanites. Because this is a statute of the natives of the Canaanites. So obviously, says the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which deals with the court systems, if you, the leadership of the Jewish people, don't study those cultures and those religions, how will you know? So you obviously have to study. So this verse does not preclude the leadership from studying. It just means that the average guy who doesn't know that much about Judaism should not go study Canaanite, idolatrous, pagan culture. What kind of stuff went on? All kinds of stuff. The Canaanites were the most perverted. One of the popular cults at that time was called the Molech, where they actually took their children and their grandchildren and they led them over the hot rocks, through the fires, and depends how religious they were. Sometimes they threw them in, sometimes they just tiptoed through the tulips. But this was called the Molech pagan cult. So the verse tells us, Lo yimotze b'cha, there shall not be found amongst you, ma'avir b'nayu b'tei bo'esh, anyone who leads his son and daughter through the flames of the Molech. Kosem ksovim, or using other types of magical stuff, heebie-jeebie, divination. Me'enein, soothsayers, people who focus on times, this time is good, this time is bad. Umenachesh, and enchanters, umachashev, and sorcerers, and all kinds of Canaanite magical cults. Rashi, ma'avir b'nei obito ba'esh, yavedas ha'melech. This is the Molech. They would make a flame of fire on each side, and they would make the child pass between the two. Kesim, who is considered a kosem, this particular culture, someone who holds his walking staff, and he says, should I go, should I not go? The people will ask their wood, they ask wood. And their staff will declare to them, a Jew should not ask his staff whether we should go or not go. Me'enein, Rabbi Akiva Eimer comes from the word onen, which means time. Elu neisnei einis, these are the ones who fix times. She'emrim eina planis yafalahaska, they say this is a good time. You want to start a business, start on this day. Don't start on this day, start this time, don't start this time. And actually, we know that there's something in Judaism for everything that exists in the opposite. And that is, in Jewish tradition, we're told that because Hashem said it is good on Tuesday, that Tuesday is a good time to start, a good time to move, a good time to start a business, a good time to vote. No, just kidding about that. Okay. It's because election day is on Tuesday. You don't get it. Okay, never mind. Back to the Chumash. V'chachomim eimrim, and our sages say, I need a crowd from New Jersey. Elo oichzei ho'einayim, these are the people who deceive because of optical illusion, because the hand is quicker than the eye. So this is not real magic, but this is make-believe magic. Even that is forbidden. So now the question is, are you allowed to engage in magic shows? And that's a very good question, which you should ask your rabbi. Umenachesh, what's that? Pite, nofla mipiv. That cult is that if your bread falls out of your mouth, it's bad luck. Tzvi of sikeh baderech, if you meet a deer on the way, it's bad luck, especially if the deer hits your car, then it's very bad luck. Makle nofal miyoda, you know, many years ago when I was an adolescent, a group of us were driving in, actually I think the driver was my brother-in-law, Rabbi Avi Beidelman of blessed memory. We were driving in from Montreal to New York, and it was a snowy, wintry road in November, and we were in a what we would call a van, and the van hit a deer. And the deer walked away, and the van was really messed up. So some of these deers are powerful. Oh dear. So he says if a deer interrupts you on the road, it could ruin your whole day. Makloi nafal miyoda, if you dropped your walking stick, this could be a problem. What are some of the other cults and cultures? 11, v'chever chover, those who seek the advice of charmers. V'shayel oiv yideni, those who ask the ov and yidoni practitioners. Rashi will define them. V'deira shalamesim, or those who bring back people from the other side and ask them questions. And this does not include someone who goes to pray at the grave of a tzaddik. This is something that we learn from Kolev ben Yefuna, who went to pray in Hebron. We're talking about an idolatry which brings back those who have gone on to the other side, which is something that is forbidden by Torah law. 11, he takes snakes, scorpions, or other animals to one place and does magic with them. This is a witchcraft, which is called pisaim, and the magical spirit speaks out of his armpit. And he brings up the dead. In his armpit. That's what you call the arid magical form. V'yidaini is machnis etzem chaya shishma yidua. You have the bone of an animal called a yidoa, and he puts it in his mouth. Medaber ha'etzem, and the bone speaks. Al yidei mechashefes, through magic. This is a cult which brings up the dead upon the male organ, and that is where it is stationed. And someone who inquire out of skulls takes all kinds of stuff. By the way, do not try any of this stuff at home. 12. Why is this stuff bad? Because all of this stuff is the abomination of God. These are abominable things. These are Canaanite cults. It was because of all of these abominable deeds. God is driving them out and dispossessing them before you. So I know you're very curious, and I know that you're very obsessed to find out every detail of every one of these cultures. Don't go there. It's not for a nice Jewish boy. Man, you don't have to do all of them to transgress this. You could even do one of them. Not a good thing. Finally, verse 13. So what should I do if I want to know the future? What should I do if I want to know what tomorrow is going to bring? If I can't ask one of these practitioners of magic, by the way, never give a psychic your credit card number. If she's really a psychic, she'll know it by herself. Tomim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. You shall be whole and sincere with Hashem your God. Tomim tiyeh im Hashem Elokecha. Hisalik ime b'tmimis. Walk wholeheartedly with Hashem. You don't have to know what's going to be tomorrow. One day at a time. And just trust in Hashem. Don't try and find out what the future is. Whatever happens, one day at a time. Kabel b'tmimis, you accept it wholeheartedly. You deal with it. You react to it. You always trust in Hashem. You do the right thing. Then you'll be with Hashem, and you'll always have a portion of Hashem. You'll never forsake your connection with Hashem. Okay. End of today's Chumash portion.